Welcome to Bilingual Latina Professionals. I'm Daisy Cedeno, your host, and today I have a very dear friend of mine, Dr. Marisol Capellan. She's an author, she's a coach, she's a leadership expert, and she's also a TEDx speaker. So I'm really excited to talk to you today. Thank you for the opportunity for the interview.
Thank you so much for having me here. Um, I feel so honored to be here and speak with you today.
I'm excited to have you. And tell us a little bit about your story to start for people that don't know you. We met long time ago in a women's summer as it was like
It
a
was like a women's seminar, I believe. It was a few
exactly.
years ago.
Yes, and we just connected. We have the same passion to help, the same passion to serve, and at the same
Mhm.
time we
Professional
always
development.
curious, like keep on learning. But tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story because the story, your life, as much the more you have experiences, the more pages you're adding to your story.
Exactly.
But maybe a little bit a condensed part of my story is that I was born in the DR and I came to the US when I was 16. There was a period of my life where I was homeless. And it's important to know because later on in my story, you will see how I speak about being an immigrant, being Latina, and the things that we go through in a corporate environment. So I used to live here or still live here when I was 16. And then from there, even though I was on my own and I didn't have any family here, I enrolled myself in college, finished my associates with honors, my bachelor's degree. Later on, I went to do my master's degree and I have a doctoral degree. And I became the first person in my family with a doctoral degree. While going through all of those experiences, not only my degrees makes me who I am, but also the experiences I had in life, in my career. I have kids now, raising a family in another country, which I consider myself American. I'm from here too, but the duality of like how you grew up and how your kids are growing up and what you want them to learn, what you want them to keep, how do you feel like this duality of being an immigrant and also being part of this country is very interesting.
Yes. And you went through the process of finding yourself within the country. Sometimes we come from Latin America with a lot of dreams, but then here you find out, okay, I can do more. That's one of the things that I feel about you, that courage to just be more than the expectations, being more than what you have in front of you. It's like being curious about life, that your limit is what you say is your limit. And that's one of
Mhm.
the things that empower me when I talk to you. I'll keep going. So, how did you find yourself? Okay, I can do more of the expectations that I have in my the collective narrative.
hmm So I think it's a very interesting question because aside from doing more, I will say, like you said, the expectation part of always knowing what you want in a way, but at the same time, understanding that you having your back is what's going to make it happen. So I think what really differentiated me from a lot of, or what really made the difference in my life was that when I set a goal, I wasn't relying on anybody giving it to me. Like
Mm,
I set a goal, for example, to finish my degree, and it didn't matter whether I had a car, I didn't have a car. I had support, I didn't have support. I had money, I didn't have money. Like there are a lot of things that were important. There were a lot of struggles that I was going through. But because I had a very defined goal of what I
mm,
wanted to do, everything else was secondary. And now that I'm coaching people, I see that over and over again, that is not that much about the how. Of course, the how is important because sometimes you do need resources to get something done. And sometimes you do need certain things, but the power of your mind when you know that you can only rely on you to look for resources within yourself is so powerful. And I think that the more that we tend to develop this mindset where it's like, this is what I want to do, and I only have me, myself, and I to make
mm.
it happen, I cannot rely on somebody else to make it happen for me. That makes a huge difference.
Yes, and the expectation from the world could be hindering.
Mm-hmm.
your progress, because
Mm-hmm.
you're expecting, okay, if I have this, if this happened to me, if this door open, if that person will talk to me about, like you're expecting, and that's um like stopping you from becoming that person that you can, but
Mm-hmm.
because you're expecting on somebody to do it for you. And that's one of the things that I see in for women. I think men are a little bit more going when it comes to making things happen, but it's changing a lot if women are able to do that. Do you see that in, for women, for Latino women, for Afro Latinas? Do you see that we're expecting? Because we have this story in novelas and all, like the Prince Charming coming to the rescue. And I think we grow up seeing that stuff, and that can hinder. And it's like an expectation of people coming to save us.
So there is two things I feel like when I hear those statements. So the first one is, yes, there is a cultural norm of saving, and I think
Mhm.
that goes across cultures. Is more about like women and saving and the Prince Charming, like you see that in Disney movies, right?
Exactly.
Disney movies is like conditioning us to think a certain way about our abilities or our non-abilities, right? Another thing is that there is actually, regardless of how go-getter you want to be and how great you are at setting goals for yourself, there are actually certain things that are not readily available to women or Black women or Afro Latinas, for example. And you can be like, this is the real the dichotomy of being a go-getter, but at the same time understanding that sometimes the world is not made to help us in a way. So it's like you
Mm.
have to be an extra go-getter. It wouldn't be like, I wouldn't frame it into like you wanted to be safe, but because you have all of these constraints to you,
Mhm.
unless the world changes and changes the system that is fair so that I can achieve things to the same rate that a white male can achieve things, I
Mhm.
have to become more of a go-getter and more of like really going out there and really try to fight those barriers and set goals for myself and do things like that, because it's not as easy as it will be for another person.
It's a structure that way. It's the
It's
way that it's
structured that way.
being, the way that society has worked for many, many centuries. So
Hmm.
yes, to change the norm is like one day at a time. And
Hmm.
one of the things that we have as a Latino bilingual professionals, we come with different languages, and we're coming with different context, cultural. We come different backgrounds, the accent bias, the expectations. What do you have to say about that? That could be depending on the situation, good or bad. And
Hmm.
I'm talking about the bilingual professionals specifically. We have other things that we need to address. Let's put it that way.
So I am going to use this moment to mention my book
Yes.
because in my book, I speak about the experiences. In my book, I speak about the experiences of Afro Latinas in the
Mm,
workplace, in the experiences of women, the experiences of Black women, the experiences of mothers in the workplace. So when it comes to bilingual professionals, there is a part of my book that is specifically designed to talk about those experiences and those biases and stereotypes that we overcome. And there are so many of them. But when it comes to the accent, right? Sometimes you may face some biases that because you have an accent, you're not as competent, which is not the truth. Like you can be somebody who has an accent and you're very competent. You probably know more than one language. That in itself, like learning another language, going to another country, learning a different culture, like that's a lot of value. But because of your accent, sometimes you may go into places and people may question how smart you are and how competent you
isn't
are.
that crazy? It
And that
is.
is completely crazy. And that's one of the biases that we're trying to eliminate, because that has nothing to do. You can be a very smooth talker with a very good pronunciation. That doesn't mean that that makes you more competent in your job. So
Mhm.
communication is important, but let's define competence. And as you were talking about this, and I don't know if I mentioned the name of my book is Leadership is a Responsibility.
Yeah, you
I,
can find it on Amazon. You can
yes,
find it in your website. You
yes,
can find it in Amazon. It's
yes.
a and it's very interesting. So go get it.
Yes, yes, yes. So you can get it on Amazon, you get it in 2 days. So the one of the chapters of my book talks about women in the workplace as it relates to mothers. And
Mm.
mothers go through a lot of biases. one of the biases that happen is like the minute they give birth, people
Mm.
start looking at mothers as more of a nurture like type of person in the workplace. So you're nurturing people, you're helping people, you're like saving people, protecting people like a mother, right? They stop seeing you as a competent person, like is
Wow.
separate, who wants to move up the ladder, because now people are making expectations about like the time that you have available to you. Like, how do they know that you don't have nannies and people take like helping you with the kids, or your own husband is helping you? But because the expectation is that a woman can either be a mother or a professional, once you become a mother in the workplace, that tends to foster a lot of biases, negative biases towards mothers, and they end up going through some discrimination in the workplace. And that
Mhm.
has to do again with the whole cultural expectation that you can be one
Yes.
or the other.
Wow. Yes. It's incredible, but we need to keep that in mind. There's
Mhm,
some expectations from the world. Maybe you think I'm going to go do this and do
mhm,
that, but there's some as a narrative that you have to be ready to
mhm.
face. So the
Yes.
last question is one of
Or we don't
the
have to. We can
uh-huh.
change it. We need to be ready to change the narrative too.
Exactly. We need to
Mm,
be ready and expect that it can happen to the person that the smarter person that you know, the person that you feel like you can trust. It can come up with this narrative that is part of the culture, that part of society. And one of the things that come to my table all the time, and I wanted to talk that up about this specifically, is there's people that feel we need to feel like we deserve to be there. Like it could be that you're in charge of this group of co-workers, you have a team, but you are there, you're the leader of that team, and still you are in there. Do I deserve to be here is one of the questions, Marisol, that comes all the time. And sometimes you think, why in the world you are in a position of power and you're still questioning if you are deserving of that position? And that doesn't happen only for women. My clients, I do public speaking, coaching, and that's one thing sometimes that I'm still amazed that they say, sometimes I question myself, why am I here? And we are go-getters, we have the courage to just go and do what we have to do. So when that question comes to the table, one of the things that I said to them is, you need to rephrase that. Do I deserve to stay here? Are you working when you are in it? Because sometimes we're just disqualifying ourselves before we even make it. What do you feel about that?
I do like what you said about disqualifying yourself. I always tell my coaching clients, do not say no to yourself before somebody else says no to you. And I feel like that is something that I've seen. Sometimes when I'm coaching, I see people saying no to themselves. Like they want to, let's say, apply for a job, and before they even apply for the job and get an interview, they're already saying that they don't deserve it, or they're not enough to apply for the job. And I always say, you cannot be the person who says no to yourself first.
Yes.
Let somebody else say no to you, but not you first. Like, you don't set the standard. Like, if you say no to yourself, you know how many people are going to say no to you? Like, everybody, because you already set the standards. It's like expectations of behavior. You say no to yourself, other people are going to say no to you. And I think that that is a mindset shift that we have to work on.
Mindset.
Like, if
Mhm.
you're going to do public speaking, for example, I do public speaking. I'm going to go do my speech. If people don't like it, they can tell me they don't like it, and then I will not maybe do it again, or I will change it. But I wouldn't say that I don't know how to do public speaking, or I don't like my topic. It's not
Exactly.
even about me, it's about the audience. They will tell you, not me. So it comes to, I guess, from this place of serving too. That is like,
Mm.
sometimes you have to disconnect yourself like from your own
Yes.
image, and it's about other people. It's about your audience liking what you have to say. It's about your audience finding you entertaining. It's about your audience finding you as a very good speaker. Whether you feel like it or not, that's another thing that we have to work on, which is mindset.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. I know you're a pretty busy woman and doctor and all the stuff that you're doing everywhere. And one last message for the bilingual Latino professionals. when it comes to just being authentic, just show up. I think that's one of the things that I tell all my clients as well. We need to show up first in
Mm.
life, in everything that you're going to do. If you hide, if you just drop your dreams, throw the towel, como dicen, like they said in English, that's that's the first problem. We need to show up.
Mhm. Yeah, and you have to show up for yourself,
Hmm.
not for others. You have to show up even when nobody's watching. You show
I
up for
like
you.
it.
Yes.